Hi, sophomores. Hope you all had a great Memorial Day. Welcome to week 7, lesson 30. Let's get started. But first, the joke of the day. Who's ready? I know I am. How do you tell if a vampire is sick? Check to see if he is coughing. Get it? Like coughing because they live in coffins, but coughing like Okay, so this is day 1 for this week, lesson 30. The video you should be watching is ELA G10W7L30. The text we're going to read this week is called Ads May Spur Unhappy Kids to Brace Materialism. And today you're going to work on a jump start and a comprehension check, as well as the first read of the text. And when you get down to the lesson itself, you'll be able to see all the materials you need for today. As previously mentioned, the learning target for today is I can complete first read annotations to help with comprehension and future analysis of the text. And as I said a second ago, the text is called Ads May Spur Unhappy Kids to Embrace Materialism. All right, let's talk about the Read, Think, Talk, Write protocol. For the read section today, as I've said 3 times, but I want to make sure you are super clear on what the name of the text is that you're reading. You're going to read the text called Ads May Spur Unhappy Kids to Embrace Materialism. And as you always do in the first lesson of a new week, you're going to complete the first read routine, which consists of the notice, annotate, connect, and respond. And you're going to put your responses to these different prompts actually on the first read guide nonfiction. And then for the think section today, as you read, you're going to think about the guiding questions that are included in the first read guide nonfiction, because these will help you complete your guide and engage in the analysis activities later on in the week. So you have your traditional no catcher. This time it's a little bit different, so make sure you pay attention to the jump start, which is a question you're going to answer before you actually start reading, almost like a do now. And the first read is just listed on the no catcher to remind you what you have to do, but everything you have to do for the first read is actually in the first read guide nonfiction. You'll notice this time that there are actually questions listed in the boxes. These are the guiding questions that the no catcher is talking about. These are actually going to help you make your annotations and make sense of the text when you engage in the first read. So make sure you pay attention to these questions that are listed inside the first read guide nonfiction. So for the talk section today, you're going to talk with someone about the following question. What do kids really want, that new toy or something less tangible? Why do advertisements have such a big effect on children? Again, this is your personal opinion, but we want you to talk to someone about this question. And then the writing section today consists of you actually completing the comprehension check questions from your no catcher. So just like you would do in a normal first read if you were in school, there's always a comprehension check after, and the comprehension check for this text lives inside the no catcher, so make sure you answer all the questions listed there. The closing for today is a little bit different than it normally is. So you're going to share your overall opinion of the text with someone and explain how you remember advertisements affecting you as a child. So don't just share your opinion of the text as a whole, but really focus on how you remember advertisements affecting you as a child. Do they have a positive effect, negative effect, or do you not really remember much at all? And then, as always, after you complete your assignment, read a book for at least 20 minutes and make sure to document everything inside the reading log. So the model today is going to be around first read annotations. I just wanted to remind you all of what the actual task is that you have to do. So for the read section, if you go back to the lesson plan, you'll be reminded that you have to obviously read the text and complete the first read routine. For the think section, it tells you to think about the guiding questions that are included in the first read guide nonfiction. And if you go to the first read guide nonfiction, you'll see some guiding questions that are listed here. But for today's model, we're really going to focus on this question. What are the key details and important ideas regarding the scientific study conducted at the University of Amsterdam in the Netherlands? So we're going to focus really just on the key details and important ideas regarding the scientific study that was conducted at University of Amsterdam. And this is actually found starting on paragraph 9. So because paragraph 1 through 8 comes before that, I'm not going to read that with you, but what I want you to do now is actually pause the video and start your first read of the text, paragraphs 1 through 8 specifically, and when you get to paragraph 9, actually play the video again, and then you can engage in the model that I will have around first read annotations for paragraph 9. So go ahead and pause the video right now. Welcome back. At this point, you should have read paragraphs 1 through 8 on your own and engaged in the first read routine. And so we're going to start with paragraph 9, and we're going to read a little bit, like sort of in order of the text, and then jump around a little bit. What we're going to do is we're going to just really focus on the key details and important ideas regarding the scientific study. And after we read a paragraph, I'll sort of, like in the margins of the text, model for you some like pullouts that I had, some key details and important ideas from that paragraph. And then after we read some paragraphs together, then I'll sort of like share with you my overall conclusion about the study. And this will help you when you have to engage in the rest of the reading, as well as complete the comprehension check to really make sense of what happened in this text. So let's get started with paragraph 9. And again, we're going to read 9 to 14, but then we're going to jump around a little bit and read some paragraphs later on in the text because those are important too, and they relate to the study. So let's get started. The findings are based on 466 Dutch children between the ages of 8 and 11 who took an online survey 2 times, 1 year apart. On both occasions, the kids answered questions about life satisfaction, how happy they were at home, at school, in their relationships, and with themselves. Okay, so this really just introduces the study and who was a part of the study. So in the margins, I'm making note of the number of children. There were 466 Dutch children. They were 8 to 11 years old, and the children took 2 surveys, once at the beginning of the study and once at the end of the study, and the survey basically determines their life satisfaction. Okay. Let's keep reading. They also rated the importance of material possessions in their life and the degree to which they thought those things could bring happiness or win them friends. So for this paragraph, I wrote, survey asked about material possessions and how much happiness they brought. So not only was the survey asking about life satisfaction, but it was really asking specifically about material possessions and how much happiness the kids got from those material possessions. Overall, Oprey's team found no evidence that materialistic kids became less happy by the second survey. However, kids who were relatively unhappy in the first survey tended to become more materialistic over the next year, but only if they regularly watched TV shows popular with the preteen crowd. Okay, so I just combined those paragraphs together, and I wrote, no evidence that materialistic kids became less happy, but those unhappy in the first survey became more materialistic over time. So really the evidence was inconclusive. There was no evidence to show that the kids that were materialistic became, less happy. But there was some evidence, or some correlation at least, that showed that those that were unhappy in the first survey, so the kids that were already unhappy, actually became more materialistic over time, which is fascinating, and I mean, I'll talk more about later in the text, but it's an interesting find for sure. Let's keep reading. The study points only to general patterns, and there are limitations. The researchers used kids' TV show viewing as a proxy for their exposure to ads, for example. And in the big picture, according to Oprey, TV ads would be just one factor that could affect a child's level of materialism. The same is true of life dissatisfaction, she said. Okay, so for that paragraph, I put no specific findings from the study, only general. So there were really no, specific conclusive findings that they drew from this. Really, it was just general patterns. There was really no conclusive evidence, and the general patterns even had limitations. Like, for example, it says the researchers used kids' TV show viewing as a proxy for their exposure to ads, for example. Proxy means substitute. So even if the kids said they watch TV shows, doesn't necessarily mean they actually watch the ads, the advertisements. Sometimes, when I'm watching a TV show and the commercial comes on, I may mute it or turn my head, right? So there's no guarantee the kids actually watched the advertisements, even if they watch the TV shows. And then for that last paragraph, I said TV ads would be just one factor of many that could affect a child's level of materialism and life dissatisfaction. So even if we could prove, or the study could prove, that the kids did watch the advertisements when they're watching the TV, it goes on to say that TV advertisements would be just one factor of many that could affect materialism. There's many other things that would affect a child's level of materialism and their want and need, their need for material possessions. So we can't say with certainty that the TV ads were the thing that increased the materialism. Just a few more paragraphs. We're actually going to go to paragraph 20 and read 20 and 21. It's true that in this study, kids' materialism did not seem to lead to unhappiness, Opry noted, but that was only the short-term outlook, she said. Previous studies conducted among adults suggested that it is very likely that children's materialism will lead to decreased life satisfaction later in life, Opry said. So what I wrote here is, even though the study didn't show that materialism led to more unhappiness with the kids, other studies have shown that children's materialism leads to decreased satisfaction later in life. So they're basically trying to say that even though the study didn't really show that materialism led to unhappiness with kids, that it still could have, because oftentimes kids don't really show that unhappy life from materialism until they're adults. Like some of those effects of materialism don't really manifest until kids grow up and they leave for college, they graduate college, start a career, have their own family. Then some of the impacts of materialism show. So it doesn't. They're trying to say this to prove that their theory could still stand. That ads may actually spur unhappy kids to embrace materialism, and that materialism may actually make kids more unhappy, when they become adults. So you'll see that we didn't read paragraphs 15 and 19 together. So after I go over this last part with you, I recommend going back and reading 15 through 19. It's just additional details. It's important, but it's not important enough for us to sort of model around today. But I definitely recommend going back and reading on your own and then continuing with the first read routine. So the last thing I'm going to do with you is sort of go over like an overall conclusion that I drew. Basically just making sense of everything that I read so far about the study, because that's what you're really supposed to be looking for if you remember what it says inside the first read guide. So let me read what I put for my overall conclusion around the study, and then I'll sort of talk about it with you. So I said, overall, the findings are inconclusive. Unhappy kids may become more materialistic if they watch enough TV ads, but it can't be confirmed that the TV ads are the only thing making them materialistic. Also, there's no real evidence that materialism leads to unhappier kids, because most of the negative impacts of materialism show up only after a kid becomes an adult. So, originally they're trying to, in this study, determine if ads may spur unhappy kids to embrace materialism. They couldn't prove that or find that with the study. They did find, though, a pattern of kids that were already unhappy becoming more materialistic as they watch more ads, but it can't be confirmed that the TV ads were actually the thing that was making them more materialistic. Like, there were so many other things that could have happened in that kid's life in that 1 year that would have made them more materialistic than just TV ads. So it's inconclusive. And there's no real evidence that there's actually harm in kids becoming materialistic, because oftentimes the negative impacts of materialism show up only after a kid becomes an adult. So this doesn't mean that the study is insignificant. It just shows that it's really hard to prove that that kids are becoming more materialistic and having negative impacts from it, because oftentimes those impacts don't really show until they're adults. So the researchers sort of knew this going into the study, that it would be sort of like an uphill battle to prove this. But even if the findings are inconclusive, I think you'll find yourself, when you keep reading, that it's still a fascinating study and opens the door to many conversations. And at the end of the day, it does speak to the need for parents to at least monitor or encourage healthy TV viewing habits, especially when kids watch the advertisements. Because if a kid is just watching an advertisement and they see someone that's really happy with a certain material possession they got, they may think that their happiness is defined by that material possession, and that's a problem. So at the end of the day, I think it's interesting that this research study does start conversations around how parents can support their kids in making sense of advertisements and not just being so quick to want to buy everything they see on TV. That was just a quick model of a part of the first read that you have to do for the text. Make sure you read the rest of it on your own. Continue working through the first read routine. Fill out the first read nonfiction guide, And then also don't forget to go back to the lesson plan and read the other parts of the lesson plan to make sure that you do everything you have to do to successfully complete this lesson. Now for tomorrow's lesson, lesson 31, the learning target is I can complete close read annotations to help analyze how an author persuades the reader with rhetoric, logos, and the impact it has on a story. As always, the second lesson of the week is a close reading lesson. Tomorrow, though, we'll be analyzing specifically the rhetoric the author uses and specifically logos, which you'll learn more about tomorrow. As always, thank you for learning with me today. Just a few quick reminders. Don't forget to talk about your lesson with someone. Read 20 minutes and complete a reading log entry. The reading log is at the front of your packet. And practice reading fluency using the first or second page of your weekly reading. So the reading for this week can be used for your fluency work. And if you forgot what to do for fluency, go to the front of your packet and there's information there. And as always, email your teacher for support if you have any questions. Thank you, have a great day, and remember, keep learning.